What's going on, my people? It's your boy Demarcus back with the life of a multifaceted. And today I wanted to talk about my life of being an ambivert. And this goes into my multifaceted ways. And I honestly didn't even know that I had ambivert qualities. And I didn't even know what an ambivert was until I got older. I feel like when we're younger, the whole extrovert introvert thing isn't really talked about as much, at least when I was growing up. I feel like it's something that you more so analyze about yourself when you get older, because when you're younger you're more so just thinking like, hey, this person over here is just quiet, this person, they talk sometimes, they don't really talk to people as much. Or you might find somebody that's just extremely extroverted, and usually those are more so categories that you put in and more so phrases that are used versus kind of being defined by one single word. And I'm going to get to like how I recognize that I was a true ambivert, but for people that truly know me or take the time to understand just how I move and operate, I'm naturally a shy person, and I've shied away from that, no pun intended, as I've gotten, excuse me, as I've gotten older, because when I was younger and it came to being shy, it really was just the environments that I was a part of, and it was I think areas of interest that I was a part of, if that makes sense. So when it came to sports per se, like I played basketball and football growing up. So growing as a kid, I played quarterback, and so as a quarterback, you got to be a leader. You got to get people going, and you got to be someone that is willing to take the time to get the operation flowing. And so you can't be someone that doesn't communicate, because you have to give your teammates the plays. You have to be able to communicate with the coach, and there may be a time where you have to do an audible when you see how the defense is moving. In basketball, I was also good. So when it came to leading my team, I was typically like a team captain on my teams. I typically started most of my life. There were times where I played up and I didn't necessarily start initially. Maybe it was six man, but most of the times for all the teams I was on, I started, and I typically was playing with guys that were, you know, 1, 2, 3 years older than me, and that really helped me to learn how to play at a faster and much better pace. And so those were environments that I was a part of. And I would even say like social clubs, like I made sure to get myself involved a lot in school. And there's just, I was a person that was a popular kid. So, and a lot of people would gravitate towards me. So I'd be having like a lot of conversations and times where, even the conversations that I may not initially feel comfortable having, not because they were bad conversations, but more so opening up to people, I would eventually be able to open up more because I was constantly having these type of conversations. And so when it came to being shy, there were just things in which I wasn't open to sharing. When it came to girls when I was younger, I was afraid to talk to girls. When it came to even something as simple, I remember being in the car with my parents and a song would come on. I would know all the words and I'd be jamming, but I would be so nervous or afraid to be able to show my personality because it just was, I just didn't know how to express myself. And so being a part of programs and things like that, it pushed me to be able to express myself because you had to. You have to be someone that's vocal in these environments, but things in which I wanted to, as far as expressing myself openly around people, I wasn't the best at that. And I would attest that to me growing up as an only child. You know, for my experience as an only child, my parents, are a bit older, and so the thing with them is even though that they're older in age, they have a youthful spirit, and they also, they look younger. Like, just as far as when you have the combination of youthfulness all around, there's going to be things that you can do which you're going to be able to relate to the younger generation. And so not until I got older is when I started to actually go to my parents and just kind of talk to them about things, because I was like, I got to talk to somebody about it. Like I don't have a older sibling at the time, and people that I was around, like some of them were cool in regards to learning information from, like some of the older guys and stuff, but I didn't really feel like I had anybody that was like my dog that was like looking at me as a younger brother that was willing to lead me. Now, as I've gotten older, there's been a couple guys where like we really connected, but at those times I didn't feel like I had how like the OGs and stuff described like back in their days when you had like the older guys that were willing to show you the ropes, that were willing to bring you along in these environments. And that also is a big part of why I move in the way that I do nowadays. And as far as giving back and being able to share things with the younger guys in my communities, and even with women friends and things like that. Like I'm so expressive because I was a person that didn't feel as if I had that. And this also goes to what I've talked about a lot of times is um, what's the terminology that I use is being on an island by yourself, because I remember so many times where guys that I was around would kiss tail to be around these other individuals that may be popular or whatever. And I'm like, I don't need to try to prove myself or try to push to get a liking from them when I'm over here doing dope stuff and they could reach out to me as well. Like I can be like, hey, bro, like you doing some dope things, cool, but you ain't got to have an ego whenever I'm trying to reach out to you from a brother standpoint. And I would just see how some of these other people just hang on their nuts and all that. And I'm like, that's just not me, just to get approval of someone. So even at times when I struggle with the understanding of when it came to again dating, understanding how to talk to girls, understanding how to get through my frustrations and all that. Like I had to take that on the chin, and I'm grateful that I was able to build the relationship better with strong with my parents to realize how to navigate these things at an early age. And I would more so attest it to my father because we have that father son relationship where he's able to give me that real game from a man standpoint. Again, not discrediting my mother at all, but as a father, from the father son relationship, especially a dad that I have that has grown up in the projects, that has seen everything, that has experienced all different avenues of life, and growing up as the oldest child in a single parent household, you're going to have to put yourself out there in the world a lot faster. You're going to have to go through experiences a lot quicker. And so the way in which you see the world, you're going to be able to get that knowledge 2 or 3 times quicker than the average person because you're having to put yourself through a lot of trials. Then you also got to be able to pass the game of knowledge on to your siblings as well. So, and my dad also was a person that in his communities, the older guys really took a liking to him, as far as bringing them around circles, when it came to, sports, he was able to compete with them on high levels and they appreciated that. And I've recognized that throughout my life that a lot of times in circles that I've been a part of, in organizations and things, were with older individuals. And even to this day, like being a part of social clubs, like people can be 5, 10 plus years older than me. And until I'm expressing my age and talking about my life experiences, they won't even realize that I'm anywhere close to the age that I am. And so I say all that to say is, as someone that was initially shy, it was because of my environments. And a lot of times in spaces that I was in, I didn't get a chance to truly express myself. And I didn't get a chance to be able to be a kid at time that could do things or mess up or whatever. And my feelings were validated. Like one thing, especially for a lot of kids, when you grow up, you clowning and stuff a lot. You know what I'm saying? We joking on each other, telling stories, all this and that, but we don't even realize that our emotions and the feelings that we have are real. And so, yeah, you got to be able to push through in a lot of instances, but there's also that piece of where you should be able to show love to your brother and be excited for the stuff that he got going on. I was literally a kid a lot of times where I could be scoring the most on my teams. I could be doing all these dope things and I wouldn't get anywhere close to the amount of praise as other people would. I could be a kid that was, I may be, even though I was afraid to talk to girls, I may somehow attract the best looking girl in the room and may not even say anything about it because I'm in fear of even talking to this woman. But the other guys, because they talking about this, and that, and hyping each other up about who gets the most girls or whatever, I'm going to be looked at as a Marcus don't talk to nobody. He can't attract nobody because I'm not expressive or being in environments where I'm able to be expressive, even though I could attract the best looking woman in that room. But a lot of times this had affected me a lot because I didn't understand why this was happening to me. And people are like, DeMarcus, you're so expressive nowadays. I appreciate you for for the person that you are. I appreciate you for the person that you are. I appreciate you for the things that you do and for being vulnerable and just being open to sharing your story. And I do it because I'm showing love to that kid that was trying to figure it out, as I always say. And when it came to being shy, I had to put some things on the back burner because I didn't feel that some of the things that I had going on or some of the questions that I had, that it was okay to be able to share those with other kids, because people were always clowning. People didn't have the confidence to truly be able to say, you know what, DeMarcus, it's all good, bro. Like you figured it out. And that pushed me away from a lot of social settings. You know, even to this day, like a lot of people that I grew up with, I'm not able to really connect with them on a deep type of level compared to how a lot of people after college have gotten to know me. Like people that had grew up with me, like a lot of people don't know me for real. Like they've seen me growing up, and they've seen, you know, they remember times we like used to play sports and do things together, but there's not a lot of people that have kept up with me in a very, very strong way. So a lot of people don't. There's a few that have, but not many have. And so there's so many things about myself now that I guarantee that if people really understood, or were able to see from when I was a kid, they would be really, really shocked. And something that is a shock to people is how open that I am. And I remember actually a guy that I grew up with, his father came in town um, on a visit with his family, and we always call him Coach. And he said, "Hey, DeMarcus, you know, I want to, you know, definitely would be good to catch up with you because I know that you live here in New York City." And I probably haven't seen him in like 10 years, something crazy. And one thing he said when we all got a chance to link up was, "Man, DeMarcus, it's crazy seeing how outgoing you are because I remember you being a shy kid growing up." And when time passes by and you're constantly leveling up and the changes that you're going through are pretty rapid, sometimes you forget about the old traits that you had or some of the old ways in which you would kind of move around. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, you know, you're right. Like there was so many times in which I was a shy kid and was kind of like outside of the circles because I wasn't able to really fit in like that. And it was hard. It was hard. And as I've gotten older, especially being in a position where I'm able to be in control of my decisions, being able to be in control of my destiny and just the areas of life that I put myself in, it's helped me to embrace becoming a true ambivert because I'm a person where as extroverted as I can be, as outgoing as I can be, I love being in social settings. But I also love having time to myself and love being in spaces where I can gather my thoughts. So I'll give you an example. Whenever the pandemic happened, that was a tough time for me because whenever I graduated college, I always had said I never want to move back home. And this was the test because again, whenever college ended, I had a crazy incident where I was supposed to be getting a surgery on my keloids on my face, and then the manager told me he's gonna let me go if I got my keloids done. I'm like, this is my life. Like, I'm not about to sit here and not be able to get something taken care of that's important just because you telling me you have this ego or whatever. So I was like, man, it is what it is. So after being out of a job and then trying to find my next steps because I was just ready to move to a bigger city, the pandemic happened. And so while I was back home trying to figure out my next steps, I'm like, man, this sucks. And I'm used to being in spaces where I'm talking to people and not separating myself for so long. So when the pandemic happened and I'm back home, one, I had been gaining like a lot of weight as well. And I just remembered the type of frustrations that I had coming back home each summer when, you know, kids wasn't really reaching out to me. They were talking about the same old stuff in high school. And there was so many times as a kid, I remember summers where I would literally just sit in my room and just stare at the walls for hours and hours. And people would just, you would see what they're posting on Snapchat about going to certain areas to do this and that. I'm like, but man, nobody thought about DeMarcus, picking DeMarcus up seeing, how DeMarcus feels or whatever. And it's the reason being is because people, I feel they saw how involved my parents were in my life, and they saw the things that my parents did for me. But what they didn't even realize is that even in a two-parent household, there was so much that went on in the household, and there were so many sacrifices my parents had to make. Where in reality, we probably were in a lesser financial situation than a lot of the people that grew up in a single parent household. But because the way my parents showed love, and because how my dad used to coach us in AAU basketball and take time out of his day, they're just seeing that, hey, DeMarcus's parents have time for all these other things, but they're not even realizing it, and probably don't even realize to this day that I actually lost out on a good amount of time, a personal time that I probably could have spent with my parents because of the sacrifices that they had to make things happen for other kids in the community. And so as I had, going back to as I've gotten older, as an extroverted person, a big part of that was because I had to learn how to express myself. Whenever I went to the University of Louisville, I remember when I graduated from high school, I couldn't wait to get to college. And I remember that first time whenever I was on campus, and I just felt like life just changed quickly, and now I was just in a new world. I was in a world to where I was in control. I didn't have to worry about my parents telling me where I could and couldn't go. I didn't have to worry about, trying to find transportation here and there. I was able to do what I wanted, but at the same time I had to figure it out. I had to be responsible. So there's different life lessons that come through with that. And I'll be talking about this as well on future episodes, but I felt that I was fully in control. And so by doing this, I also was in a new environment to where, yeah, I knew a couple people that had went to college there from people that I grew up with, but I didn't know 95% of the people there. Like a small percentage of the people I did, very, very small, but I didn't know, I didn't really know anybody. So now I was able to have a fresh start. I was able to start new from getting to know people. I was able to express myself in ways where, you know, I couldn't be prejudged. It's like it's almost like going to a therapist, right? Like because your therapist doesn't know you initially, and even over time getting to know them, they're not going to be able to judge you off your past and the individual that you portray because they haven't gotten a chance to get to know you. So as you're meeting people and as you're getting a chance to build your community, people are taking you for face value. And so that was an eye opener to me. And that was great for me because now I didn't have to worry about, being in the same spaces as everyone, being a part of these same entities, being led by coaches and all that. Even with sports, like the fact of being in so many positions to where coaches could be responsible for your future. You could be the best person on the team, but a coach is going to fit you where he thinks it's best to win this championship or whatever. And I just got tired of all that. Like it put a bad taste in my mouth because there was times where I was taken away from opportunities, where I was removed because of favoritism and because of jealousy. And as a kid, for me, that affected my performance. And I let that affect my performance because I didn't know how to express my emotions. There were times, especially with football, like people know me when it came to football when I was younger. I was cold as a quarterback. When I got to high school, because of the frustrations and things that I endured, I wasn't even practicing on my throwing. And so there was one time when I actually kind of tried out to be quarterback and I was terrible, right? But I was terrible because I didn't know how to express myself and use that at the time to fuel me to really be the best that I can be. And that's just me being a product of my environment. I'm not knowing how to express myself. So how else could I go about life moving forward if I feel that anytime that I'm angry, I just got to figure it out. And if that is at the cost of me kind of self-sabotaging myself, I got to learn how to fix that. And so over time, I became a person that was very expressive, and I was able to meet so many and have been able to meet so many people and build so many relationships throughout my years of living. I was the prom king in high school. So that means that like a lot of people knew me and a lot of people respected me. But as I always say, I didn't follow the crowds, and I was a person that was left out because while a lot of people did love the energy that I provided, I wasn't invited to a lot of things. So I had to really make my mark in who I was and be able to maneuver. I keep saying the word maneuver. I want to switch my terminology, but to shift in different rooms in order to express myself in the best way that I could. And so as an adult, I'm so thrilled and blessed that I found being what being a true ambivert is, because I'm able to express myself in social settings, and I'm able to be in environments where DeMarcus can be him, and it's okay to be able to dance. It's okay to be able to have opinions, to be able to yell, laugh, whatever it is, without feeling judged, because you realize that as you get older, the way that I felt as a kid, a lot of people feel like as an adult because they never took time to work on it. But during that process of me getting older, I worked on it so much, and I worked on it when it was uncomfortable to do so. So now I'm able to have times where I'm okay with being extroverted. So I want to kind of shift back, as I told you all. So whenever I was back home, I didn't want to talk to anybody and anything like that. And so when the pandemic happened, I was at home with my parents. And so at that point, I'm, taking COVID seriously. And I have like a lot of friends and stuff that was going out and all that. And it was a big shift because when college ended, I was away from everyone. So it's pretty much just like, imagine going on like a long vacation, you having a lot of fun, and then all of a sudden you ain't going on vacation at all. You ain't connecting with nobody. And so for me, it was a big pivotal point in my life because I had to cut off, a lot of older friends, people that weren't really being an asset to my life or providing value in my life. As far as for close friends, I wasn't able to get out there and have fun with them because I was taking it seriously. And, I just couldn't do my parents like that. If I came back home and I was sick, I would feel terrible. And so that caused me to be very isolated from people, which is not good. I realize how much isolation can really hinder you, especially if you're a person that's extroverted, because it took me a minute to be able to get back socially like I once was. But what I really appreciate about that is I realized how much it meant to have time to myself. And this is what helped to influence the introverted side. So I realized how much that I learned from being by myself, how much that the struggles of life that I go through, that I'm able to identify problems and create action plans for it. And also how I'm able to express myself and learn more about life without having somebody else in my ear giving their opinions. And this helped me to truly appreciate and enjoy being by myself. There was already a process in college where I was trying to learn how to become confident, build my self-esteem, and be the best that I can be. But in the time that I had alone when I was at home and in the basement, just having my own space, I truly realized what it was to spend time, uh, how it felt to spend time by yourself, and how it felt to truly love yourself and embrace who you are. During that time, like I said, I had gained a lot of weight towards the end of college, and I was in a relationship as well too that just ended up not turning out well. But I came back home and I was weighed the most that I ever had. I had a chance to even visit friends a little bit before the pandemic happened, and I was still at the biggest that I had ever been. But what that time taught me is, hey, DeMarcus, you ain't got nothing going on. You can't really get out like that. Hey, learn how to work out, learn how to push through. And these moments help to truly shape who I am today, because as I was working through certain processes during college and figuring myself out, during the pandemic, I was at a point to where I really had to figure it out. I had to work on different crafts and hobbies. Like I started to learn how to make beats. I started a clothing brand at the time, and I'm actually working on transitioning that into, another name and another entity. But I really found out a lot about myself. When it came to cooking, I had time to actually sit back and learn how to cook different recipes and learn more about social media too. So when I got to New York, even though I was still trying to figure out like if this was a part of a brand that I wanted to continue, I still had a foundation that I could work off of. And so becoming a true ambivert was something that was always in my nature, but I was able to embrace it because I had the time to myself to understand how I can make this satisfying. And nowadays, as an adult, I absolutely love it. Like living on my own and being able to have my own space has been a tremendous experience. And it comes with its ups and downs. And I'm going to share in my later podcast episodes a lot of the downs that I've experienced in this year. But from a faith standpoint, from a just growing into a man, it's been the most beautiful thing because I've been accountable for myself and all those things that I've experienced for years and all these thought processes, all the um events that I wanted to go to and experience. I'm able to do that now without having anybody to be in my ear. And it also helps me to be able to be at a distance from my friends because sometimes when you're in the presence of people too much, it causes you to sometimes be stagnated, or it causes you to sometimes get a bit irritated because of the way in which people move. And again, as I've said in my YouTube videos, like I have some very, very close friends, but when it comes to like a best friend, I don't really have like a close dog like that that understands me on each and every level. Like I said, the person that probably understands me the most because he's also given me, the game of life as my father. But it may be different if you have that road dog like a brother, where you've like, or a close friend that's like a brother like that. Like, even though I have an older brother, like us still connecting and building over time is like a new process, a process for us. But having that road dog that truly understands you, that y'all move in similar ways, where shoot, if it's a two man, where like y'all can go out, y'all both are able to holler at some ladies and be able to go on a double date. Like I've never had that. I've always been in positions to have to do things by myself. And over time, I've learned to incorporate people into my spaces and learn to share experiences with people. But DeMarcus has always been somebody that has had to figure it out on his own and has unfortunately been in positions to where he's had to do a lot of things on his own. Now, that's been great because when it comes to experiencing things, I don't have to depend on other people for my happiness. I don't have to depend on other people to make something happen. Like if there's a way in which I want to approach it, it's a trial and error for me to really understand what's the best approach versus somebody telling me how to do something that's not the right way that I want to go, or that's not the way that's best for me. But also too, it can be there's been times where it's like, dang, you know what? It would actually be cool to have someone that I can relate to on a deep level going to this event because, hey, we can really scope out the scene and we know how to handle this environment the same way. And we actually are building something more. Like it's hard as a man, especially with other guys, because with your boys, guys, we don't really like guys don't really want to build enough. I actually have more in-depth conversations and more conversations about building my brand and just about life sometimes than I do with close guys around me. And there's a few guys in which I can, but even some guys around me that may think that they do know a lot about me and can connect in that way, a lot of them can't because, or quite a few of them can't because they don't know how to go in depth themselves. But for the ones that do, like, it's beautiful. So for me as an individual, I just had to realize that, like, you know what, DeMarcus, you got to figure it out for yourself. And the beauty of that is, as you get older and as you are learning more about your personality and learning more about how you move, you'll meet more people that also move like that. And you'll meet more people that are willing to share their experiences and people that probably are going through the same things that you're going through, honestly a lot worse, but they've never felt that they've been in places to be able to express themselves, nor do they know how to. So I say all that to say, as an ambivert, as a true ambivert, I love being able to express myself through multiple ways. And so for me, when it comes to being a self-starter, like I'm someone that can go into an environment, I can manifest things on my own. Like as an introvert, I don't have to have a crowd around to get myself going. Like I'm someone that can I'll find motivation in getting things done because I'm depending on myself in order to make that happen. Somebody that's an extrovert, that may depend on a crowd or environment to get them flowing. Now I can do that as well. Like if I'm around people, like depending on the energy in there, if the energy sucks in the room, I can bring the energy, but also at the same time, I'm someone where like if it's completely dead or garbage in the room, I can't really force myself to appreciate a certain setting that I've got to always bring the energy to. No, like sometimes I want to be in a room to where I ain't got to be the person that's getting everything going, or be the action based person, or being that person that's getting the crowd excited. Like I want to feel that sometimes. And so as a true ambivert, it's helped to shape my life in a very special way. It's helped me to become more excited about being multifaceted. It's actually helped me to expand on my multifacets. It's helped me to see the world in a different light. It's helped me to express myself. Like I'm very open with my emotions. I've been to therapy before. I'm very vulnerable. I don't mind being vulnerable in the open. I don't mind, expressing my feelings, crying in front of people that I care about. Like I've had to really train myself to be this way. And it's all attested to how I've had to grow up and how I've had to position myself in society, through my peers and through my family over time. And as I continue to grow, can't even, a lot of people can't understand how I'm able to move in the way that I do. For me as a guy, like a lot of guys don't know how to express themselves, and a lot of guys hide their emotions. But I'm the total opposite. It's because of the way in which I've had to push myself through. And a lot of people, they've just been in groups and they've been around people that have validated them to where they may have not had to figure it out for themselves, or if they felt like an outsider, they didn't have the strength to be able to separate themselves. And I had to find that strength early on. And as I continue to build and have built over time, I had to go through those embarrassing moments. I had to go through those time periods where my skin wasn't on point, where I was gaining weight, to where I didn't feel attractive and I didn't feel like women liked me. I didn't feel that people appreciated me for who I truly was versus what I was providing in spaces. But as a person that has been able to find happiness in creating things and making experiences happen, I realized that I'm the person that sets the pace. I'm a person that people appreciate because of how I'm able to bring my authenticity to the forefront. And that has helped to shape me in a very, very beautiful way. And as I continue to learn myself, that's why I can continue to be in spaces where I'm around people that are older. When it's coming to dating, like, and it comes to attractive wise, like, I mean, man, you're talking about a kid that struggled so much with feeling that he was attractive and even attracting girls. Like nowadays, I mean, the types of women that I've been able to attract over time has just been like, it's just been different. Like, as far as my experiences compared to um, guys that have shared their experiences, I'm just like, man, we live on two totally different islands, and it's just because of the way in which I've allowed myself to learn and be able to take accountability for things that have went on, and just being able to put myself out there. And even when it comes to my dating experience, I've pretty much most of the women that I've dated have been older than me. And that could be anywhere from a year to 12, 13 years. And I've dated some women that were younger than me, but the younger women have had an emotional intelligence to them that people would also deem them as being older. So if you got anything out of this episode, I want you to understand that being a ambivert, being an introvert or extrovert, is okay. Nothing's wrong with any of them. But if you're someone that relates to being an ambivert, and you also relate to the struggles that come along with being able to express yourself and molding into your best self over time, just realize that the more you continue to put yourself out there, the more of those ideas, the more that you have those ideas and those thoughts in your head about the way you see the world, the things that you want to implement in the world, the hobbies that you want to be a part of, the different tasks you want to create, the more you can consider those things and actually bring it to light, the more that you'll realize that a lot of people ain't as dope as you are. And it's not that they can't be dope as well. And it's not that they can't even be more dope, but they are too busy trying to follow everybody else and trying to shape themselves to be more so part of the crowd versus them actually being who they naturally are or being their true authentic self. And it's hard for me to say anyone is dope that just wants to follow everybody else and that just thrives on being validated by people to make them feel good about themselves. Dope people to me are ones where you can express yourself in certain ways. You can provide a certain type of energy towards people, and you can provide a space, or you can provide a experience that makes somebody just feel comfortable being their best self. So for all my ambiverts out there, I can truly relate to you. I'm definitely looking forward to all these topics that I have going more further in depth. As I'm learning, these platforms, as I'm continuing to get more comfortable, just like speaking, because I'm speaking for a long period of time, but I know that, with certain topics, I want to be able to just stay on task, and I can shift in and out of conversation so many times, but it's because I get excited to be able to talk about life and people in my life. Again, they credit me a lot for the way in which I do speak and the way in which I'm open and genuine in my approach. And I just, from this podcast, I want people to be able to feel that as well. I want you to feel that, hey, DeMarcus don't have to figure it all out. DeMarcus, isn't saying everything perfect, and you know, he's not fully getting through an episode where he may not mess up on certain parts. Like, I'm a human just like everybody else, and you're human just like everybody else. So this podcast, for the being the life of a multifaceted, is showing you that, you know what, you're going to make mistakes as well. You're someone that you're going to go through insecurities. You're going to go through periods of your life where you're like, man, I feel very uncomfortable. But the fact that you're recognizing that, and you know that there's something about you that's different, and you're willing to put yourself in spaces where you're not afraid to be yourself, or you're not afraid to at least put yourself out there, and you're allowing yourself to go through the hardships and go through the struggles. I'm telling you, you'll be so happy in the end, because you're going to continue building on yourself, and only you know yourself best. And if you're someone that can learn to appreciate yourself, hold yourself accountable, be able to express your emotions, be in tune with your emotions, I guarantee you, especially for my people that are in your 20s, you will continue to appreciate yourself year in and year out. And you'll realize that you'll slowly continue to pass up people no matter the age, because a lot of people are not in tune with themselves. So that is this episode for the life of a multifaceted, talking about being an ambivert from my extroverted, introverted people. There's other verts out there as well too, but specifically my ambivert folks. This is for you, and hopefully that you got something out of this. Peace.